Hello and welcome back to the Squirrel Heed YouTube channel, and this is a Premier League preview number 4 as we are now coming back off the international break. We are back in to the football that actually matters to us dearly. So, first things first, for me, it's obviously the late kickoff, but I've done a separate preview as I always am aiming to do for the Liverpool versus Leicester game. First game for Liverpool back at Anfield. The link for that should be in the description below and you can check that one out if you please. I've got a score prediction in there, lineups and stuff like that. Hopefully you should enjoy that video as well. So please go check that one out if you want to see the preview for Liverpool versus Leicester. Now, moving on to our 12:30 kickoff on Saturday, we are looking at the biggest game of the weekend. Yes, it could be argued from our point of view that Liverpool v Leicester is a pretty big game, but you cannot compare everything that's going on around the Manchester United versus Manchester City game at Old Trafford with the fact of all the players that they've all brought in. Man United with Ibrahimovic, Pogba, obviously, all those guys, Mkhitaryan, Eric Bailly, and the way that that team is performing right now. You know, you've still got the likes of Rashford. Martial's still got to kick into some sort of gear. He's got to kick in somewhere and sometime throughout this season. Then you've got Manchester City, and then you've obviously got the likes of De Bruyne, Aguero. Now, Aguero is obviously banned for this game, but even so, who can they put up there? Well, they've got Iheanacho. They've probably got some other options that they could use as well. They've got Sterling, who, while was pretty shit last year, is actually in some pretty good form at the moment, playing really well. He's picking up Man of the Match awards all over the place. They've got midfielders to burn. They've got obviously Nolito, who's come in. They've got Leroy Sané, who is apparently ready and raring to go for this match coming up. Then you've obviously got, who else have we got in the Man City team? You've got Leroy Sané. You've got Gundogan, I think, could be featuring. I think he's possibly ready to come back. I'm not entirely sure. Then you've got the managers in Manchester United's Mourinho and Man City's Guardiola. Now, there's so many different things to this. There's obviously the big rivalry from Barcelona and Real Madrid when it was Pep Guardiola versus Mourinho. Then Pep Guardiola most of the time came out on top, but he always had he didn't have the much better team. That's very wrong to say, but the team just played a little bit better than the individuals that were in the Real Madrid team. Now, it could be argued the roles are a little bit reversed, because while Man City aren't necessarily playing as the best team at the moment, they have a lot of individual talent all over that pitch. Is that going to be a bit of an undoing with the way that Man United are playing? Man United are playing, they don't look very vulnerable at the back. They look like they're very good going forward. Yes, they struggled against Hull, but at the end of the day, they got the result. Man City, on the other hand, are scoring quite a few goals. They're playing okay every now and again. They are missing things every now and again as well, but it's just one of those, really. It's a complete toss-up for me. These two sides are they're unbeaten. They've done it in completely different styles, and it's very difficult to pick a winner. This, however, being at Old Trafford with Mourinho and the way he's actually getting their style of play going at the moment, it's so you know what, week in, week out, it gets more difficult to predict a Manchester United win. And I can't sit on the fence on it. I have to go somewhere. And I think that Man City's defence is going to struggle against United's attack. Now, I'm not saying that Manchester City's attack won't do anything against Man United's. Completely the opposite. I think that they'll score a goal or two. I just think Man United look much more solid at the back than Manchester City do at the moment. And that's the reason why I'm going for a Man United win. I don't know what type of score, though. I think there's going to be goals on either side, but I don't know what score I would predict for that one. I just know that from what I can see, and trying to be as non-biased as I can, as much as painful as it is, I have to go with a Manchester United win. Moving on to Arsenal at the Emirates against Southampton at 3 o'clock. Difficult game for both teams for different reasons. Southampton have done well against Arsenal in the past, but also vice versa, Arsenal have done well against Southampton. You never really know what Southampton's going to turn up, and vice versa can be said again about Arsenal as well. Now, Arsenal and the fans are rightly going to be riding a crest of positivity after actually getting some signings in on deadline day, getting their target man Mustafi, which seemed to take an absolute age to get through, but they got him there, and they also got Lucas Perez as well, who is another striker, is going to be a completely different option to Giroud, which is, it's exactly what you need. Every team needs to have an alternative. If your big striker isn't working, you bring in someone different or to play alongside them. They've got a couple of different options now. Just by those two signings, they've got a little bit more stability than they had just a couple of weeks ago when they were facing Liverpool. Southampton haven't necessarily picked up the greatest results in the first 3 games, but Southampton always have had that ability, especially now with Nathan Redmond. Looks like he's going to be playing down the middle, and if he gets any sort of start on that defence, he could just run through them. It could go either way with these guys. Arsenal will be looking positive, obviously after the Watford game that they had before the international break. They will be thinking a lot more positive about how their fortunes have gone so far. They had the draw at Leicester. Obviously they started the season with the loss against Liverpool, but they got that draw against Leicester, then picked up a 3-1 victory against Watford, I believe it was, and that'll be a lot more positive. They'll obviously have their players coming back in that they didn't have available, so obviously you're going to have, you should now have your staple players like Ozil, Sanchez, Koscielny in the back. Now, are they going to do what could be a pretty good partnership in Koscielny and Mustafi? That's the one I would go for, because I think that's going to be the most solid, but you never know which way Wenger's going to go. Southampton, I think Southampton are going to struggle against Arsenal, especially Arsenal being at home as well. Arsenal will want to make a very good impression after the international break, being at home. They want to make those fans happy and get those fans behind the team very, very much. This could be another one of those. I don't think it's going to be I don't think Arsenal are going to tear Southampton to shreds or anything like that. But I do think that Arsenal are going to come away with a 2-0 victory. Coming up next on my list here, we have Bournemouth versus West Bromwich Albion. Both these teams are going to be wanting to pick up these results pretty quickly. Yes, we are only into the 4th game of the season at this point, but picking up these points early on against the teams that they could be surrounded by if they don't keep picking up results, getting draws and getting wins and stuff like that. They want to be picking up points against their rivals and scoring as many goals as they can, again, to offset that potential goal difference problem that you can get later on in the season, 20 games, 25 games into the season, depending on where these teams are going to be. West Brom, I don't think, are going to flirt with relegation this season, and I think they're going to be a bit stronger, obviously, with the pairing of Berahino and Rondon. Bournemouth, on the other hand, iffy. They've got very, very good tactician in Eddie Howe. Has he got the players to implement it, though, is the only thing. I thought a person that was key to them last year was Matt Ritchie, and obviously he's not there anymore. He's with Newcastle. And it looks like they do have some problems now on the wing. Getting those chances coming into the box, they don't seem to be getting as many of them anymore. And I'm not entirely sure that they're the most solid at the back either. And this is where I think West Brom are going to take advantage. If they do the little and large, as I call it, like Rondon and Berahino, I think it could be dangerous. And if they do that, even if they don't and they just start Rondon up front, I do think West Brom are going to win. I am going to go for a 1-0 victory, but it could be more. That's just where I'm going with this one. Coming up next, another 3 o'clock kickoff, Burnley versus Hull. Hull, apart from, they will have been a little bit gutted, but they can hold their heads high after the start that they had. 3 games. They played Manchester United. They beat Leicester. They lost to Man United in the final seconds. Literally, almost pretty much literally. Rashford comes off and scores in the 93rd or 94th minute. Very, very, very unfortunate for a team performance that they put in, but picking up 6 points from the first opening 3 games in the dire situation that they're in, and still not being able to confirm that Mike Phelan is going to be their long-term manager. Unbelievable. That's as far as I'm aware anyway. This is being recorded on Thursday night. That's as far as I'm aware right now. Burnley, on the other hand, again, they look like they can be dangerous. Now, we can't really... I don't want to take anything away from Burnley. Obviously, in the Liverpool game that they played, and they ripped us to shreds in most parts. But we did play dog shit that day. We really did. And we can hold our hands up, and we have to hold our hands up and say that. This probably... I don't think that Hull will be too discouraged by that performance they had against Man United. They played very well. They had some very good chances. They came up against a very good goalkeeper. The best goalkeeper in the world, in my opinion anyway, in David De Gea. They have a very good back four as well, and they did get their chances, but they just couldn't take them for all of their best efforts as well. But I think that Hull could still pick up, and they'll pick up their next 3 points in this game against Burnley. I just don't think Burnley are going to have enough to get past that resolve and that fight and desire that Hull have. And I do think that Hull are going to walk away with the points. And I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory to Hull. Coming up next on the list is Middlesbrough versus Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace have just signed Matteo Flamini on a free. So, I don't really know what to say about that. I mean, it's Flamini. You know, he was okay. He was okay for Arsenal. Scored the occasional... I say occasional. He scored the rare screamer. But any strength that they can get in that midfield is only going to do Crystal Palace good. Obviously, they're going to be looking for Benteke to start chipping in with goals. He's going to be expected to as well, especially with the style of football that they play. Middlesbrough are starting very well. They've got a very good strike force in Negredo and Stuani, and they seem to be playing pretty well across the board. Because of that, and I think the way that Crystal Palace can be very inconsistent under Alan Pardew, especially under Pulis, they were really, really good. But under Pardew, they just don't seem to have it. They seem to be going a little bit like Newcastle were, where Pardew does he does quite well in like his first season or something like that, because he's got the setup of the previous manager's defensive unit and stuff like that. I think in this one, Middlesbrough are going to continue to have their little run of form that they've got. They haven't necessarily picked up the most, setting the world alight results, but they are doing pretty well for just coming up from the Championship. I think they are going to get it. It's going to be a stubborn game, and I think it's going to be a 1-0 victory to Middlesbrough at the end of the game. Then coming up again, another 3 o'clock kickoff is the Stoke City versus Tottenham one. Now, Stoke need to start stepping up and finding a couple of other gears, because if Tottenham get a foothold in this game, they could go rampant against Stoke. I actually don't see it going any other way. Now, Tottenham are obviously going to be looking to see, and I don't think he'll start, but they're all going to see what Sissoko can do, because you don't spend 30 million on a midfielder and just sit him on the bench. They're going to be wanting to see what he does, and can he turn up good? Can he prove that he's this Champions League player that he's been saying he is for absolute donkey's years? I'm not sure, but I do think that Tottenham are going to run the show in this one, and I think that Tottenham are going to walk away with a 2-0 victory. And then the final 3 o'clock kickoff is the West Ham versus Watford game. Now, West Ham are going to be both teams are going to be looking to bounce back. West Ham are obviously not in the best vein of form at the moment. They just aren't clicking. They're missing their key players, or I should say, well, they're missing a lot of first team players. Let's get that right straight away. West Ham are missing a lot of their players. When you're missing the likes of your record signing like Andre Ayew, and you're missing your absolute star man from last year in Dimitri Payet, you are going to miss them like hell. And that's kind of what's happening to West Ham. Now, I don't know what their injury situation's like coming into this weekend. I didn't look at it because people are being away for international duty and stuff like that, and you never know how people are going to come back from international duty. But for me, if obviously this is West Ham at home, and they're going to be wanting to make their new home, the Olympic Stadium, a bit more of a fortress than they have so far. They've struggled against some, let's be honest, they've struggled against some lower quality opposition when they had their Europa League qualification and stuff like that, and they just seem to be struggling quite a lot just to actually formulate something. They've got Andy Carroll missing. They're going to be relying on Enner Valencia and stuff like that as well, and they're going to be wanting to stave off all these injuries that they've got, because these are quite lengthy injuries they've got so far. Watford, on the other hand, are going to be wanting to bounce back after their performance against Arsenal, and they can take some credit from the second half. If they'd have scored that second goal that it looked like they were going to get, they could have been well in that game, and that could have changed everything completely. Arsenal fell asleep in that second half, and Watford just couldn't take advantage. For me, though, because of where both teams are right now and how they seem to be in their little bits of not on form, a little bit out of form, I'm going to go for a 1-1. It's going to be a score draw. It's going to be a 1-1 draw for me. But if it's going to go any other way, I think it will be Watford that get the win, and West Ham will still be looking to pick up the pace a little bit. Now we move on to Sunday's only game. It's the 4 o'clock kickoff, Swansea City versus Chelsea. And Chelsea just look like a brick wall. In fact, no, that's actually a disservice. Chelsea look like a nuclear bunker. you're gonna find it very difficult. And I think they've signed a couple of other defenders and other players in the transfer window as well. They've got some couple of additions in there as well. They're giving Victor Moses a chance and stuff like that as well, who seems to be, after all the loans he's had in the last 4 years, seems to be getting given a chance now. And they seem to be clicking pretty well. Chelsea, they're solid at the back. They're going well in midfield so far. The players seem a lot happier under Conte, and the forwards, Hazard, Costa and everybody like that, seem to be enjoying their football a lot more. That's going to be very dangerous, even though they're going to Swansea. Swansea can play well, but I think they're going to come up against a very, very motivated... I think they're going to come up against a very motivated Chelsea that are going to be looking to pick up points rapidly. They're going to be wanting to get their 12 points. Their 12 points, basically, at the end of this game. They're going to be looking to do that, and I think that they will do that. Depending on it depends on the type of Swansea that turns up. You never sort of know. It's like some of the teams, like sometimes like us, Liverpool, you never know which one you're going to get. Box of chocolates, it's that sort, you know what I mean. So, I think, even then, you could have your strongest Swansea and you could have your weakest Swansea. I'm pretty sure that the result will be about the same, and I think that Chelsea are going to walk away with a 2-0 victory, at least. And then we come on to Monday Night Football, 8 o'clock, I believe, is Sunderland versus Everton. And this is going to be David Moyes' first game against one of his old clubs in Everton. Everton seem to be doing pretty well under Koeman. Like, they're maybe not getting the results and all that they're wanting, but I think they're playing pretty good football. They're looking a lot better in defence than they were last year under Martinez. They're looking good going forward. The players seem like they really want to play for him. Lukaku wants to stick around for at least a year, and he wanted to score goals. Apparently turned down Juventus to stay there. Ross Barkley looks like he's got a lot more purpose about him this year as well already. So I think things are looking up for Everton. Things are looking a little bit okay for Sunderland, I think. But I think they've got to get out of this stigma where every single year they're in a relegation battle, and there's only so long that you can do it. You see how many years that Newcastle rode their luck, and their luck ran out last year. They brought in Rafa Benitez too late to try and turn that ship around and turn it into something good, and it was just it was too little too late. Sunderland could be, if they don't start to build and improve this year under David Moyes, this could be the year, because the teams that would normally be around them seem so much stronger and so much more already set in their ways than Sunderland. Probably the only ones that don't at the moment is maybe Bournemouth or something like that, perhaps Burnley, but I was tipping Hull at the start of the season to go down, and I don't think I am anymore. Sunderland, if they don't start kicking themselves up the arse and getting themselves geared up for matches, this could be a downfall. Now, with how motivated Koeman has pretty much every part of that team, for the Everton team, it's my reason why I don't think Sunderland are going to pick up any points this weekend. I don't think they're going to get a draw. I think they've got the potential to. When you've got Jermaine Defoe in your team and you start feeding him properly, there's always potential for you to get some goals. I just think that Everton are going to be a little bit too dangerous, a bit too organised, and probably catch Sunderland sleeping quite a lot. And I think that Everton are going to walk away with a 2-1 victory. Let me know what you think of my predictions and thoughts in the comments below. They are my thoughts alone. Anyway, those will be my predictions for the weekend ahead. The Liverpool one, obviously, I'll keep in the description, as I said at the start of the video here. I'll keep that down below. You can check that one out, a separate one just there for you. Do you agree with the predictions? What are your predictions for the weekend? And what do you think? Are there going to be any surprises this weekend? Is there going to be any upsets? Let me know what you think in the comments below, if you please. And if you could like the video, that would be most awesome. It's just a little click of the thumb, and it would be really cool. Subscribe if you're new around here, and you'll get a lot more content. The gaming content is coming back very, very quickly. I've got some videos already done and ready to go and get uploaded. So we've got a lot more to that to come, and also you're going to get the Premier League previews and reviews every single week. So about 4, you're guaranteed 4 videos a week anyway. So if you enjoy the sound of that, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will catch you later.